Welcome to our tiny shiny home.
Friends, today we are installing a mini split in our 1972 vintage Airstream.
That's right, guys. Our air conditioner broke about almost a week ago.
Yeah.
And it's hot.
See, our family is building an off-grid desert homestead naturally and sustainably. Back in 2020, we came off of 5 years of traveling in our tiny shiny home. We bought some raw land here in Cochise County, Arizona, and got to work.
One of the greatest things about this area is that we can actually live in our RV while we build our house. So our 1972 Airstream got its own permanent spot here on the property under this beautiful metal truss cover. It's complete with rainwater catchment, a gray water septic, and 30 amp shore power provided by our big off-grid solar system.
The Airstream renovation took place all the way back in 2017, but like we said, this was the year that Dometic rooftop air conditioner finally died.
Yeah, and if you don't know, we are in Arizona in the middle of summer, so it's the worst possible time.
Now, we had always wanted to put a mini split in the Airstream because we put one in the Earthbag Solar Shed office. We saw how well it performed, and we knew that long term, if we were going to keep this thing actually comfortable year round, that would be the way to go.
Yeah, let's talk for just a minute about how bad rooftop air conditioners suck.
First off, they're expensive.
So expensive.
$1,200 for this model, which is a 13.5K BTU, which is a fairly small air conditioner for an Airstream this size. Second of all, they use so much power.
Yeah.
Even with our 28 kilowatt hour storage lithium battery bank and 9,700 watts of solar, we could only run the unit during the day. It uses 1,500 watts per hour, so running it overnight would have drawn down our battery too much to get it recharged the next day.
That meant we had to use an evaporative cooler to keep the Airstream comfortable at night.
Third, the airflow on these things are terrible. Like, we know that newer Airstreams have ducted ceilings built in. They have their own problems, but this particular model, it just blew the air straight down.
There is no way to get the air from the center of the trailer up to the front, so even with it being in the shade under this cover, we still had to run that evaporative cooler fan to push the air to the front of the Airstream.
Yeah, because we spend most of our time up front, and we just needed to be comfortable up there. And finally, can we just talk about the noise?
Oh my gosh, we did not realize how loud that air conditioner was.
Yeah, not only was the rooftop thing running, the evaporative cooler was running,
yeah,
and we just spent all summer yelling at each other because nobody could hear each other.
I thought I was going deaf at one point because I kept having to ask the kids to say things over and over. Turns out it was just our air conditioner.
Yeah, that's it. So in case you couldn't notice, we really hated our rooftop air conditioner.
Yeah.
And when it died, we knew it was time for a mini split.
Yeah, but even just the thought of retrofitting a mini split into our already renovated Airstream was completely overwhelming.
So how did we talk ourselves into this?
Well, you can thank today's sponsor, Costway.
They not only rushed us a 12,000 BTU mini split, but they sponsored this whole install as well. So it gave us the time to really think through it, to film the process, and to share it with you. Costway is an online retailer of all the things. Furniture, appliances, sports, outdoor kitchen, pets. They've got great prices, 24-hour online support, and fast delivery within 3 to 5 days.
Which is very important because we are melting over here.
We'll share some more links and info with you about Costway in a minute, but first let's talk about what exactly a mini split is and why they're so awesome.
A mini split system is made up of two main components, an indoor air handling unit and an outdoor condenser. They are linked together by two gas lines and a communication cable. They usually come pre-charged with refrigerant and are very DIY friendly.
I don't want to get too complicated here, but basically they're just in a whole other class in terms of air movement, efficiency, and volume level than our old rooftop air conditioner.
The large air handlers allow the units to remove the warm air from your space and blow the cold air in at a rate that you can actually feel.
And somehow it does this nearly silently.
So quiet.
And somehow it uses a third of the power.
So much less power.
Oh, and did we mention that the mini split costs half as much as a rooftop unit does? That we were able to install it ourselves? That we're now basking in a perfectly climate-controlled tin can in the middle of the desert?
In summer?
Using way less power and nearly silently?
Guys, we will get to all those details here in a minute, but first here are a few things that you need to remember when installing a mini split in your Airstream.
The first thing to consider is where to even put it inside an Airstream, because the walls are not straight.
Nope, everything is curved in an Airstream.
And you're going to have to drill a 2.5-inch hole to get from the inside unit to the outside unit.
And you're going to want the air to be blowing into your main living space.
The outside unit is going to need a 20 amp dedicated breaker and electrical line, plus you've got to figure out how to mount that unit permanently. Alright friends, let's get this mini split installed. Guys, we have stuff to do. You're going to have to get off of this.
Ready? Do you want air conditioning? Are you tired of being hot? Okay.
This whole install is going to be all about trade-offs. There's so many different ways you could do this. We considered putting it on the side, like you mentioned. We feel like putting it right here in the center, even though we love this look up here. Sometimes practicality wins out. We want the air to move all the way down the Airstream, and if we put it on the side here, it's not going to move the way that we want it to. So, you want to show them the bracket we've started with?
Well, these are going to be the sides, right?
We got to get a way to mount this thing in plumb and raised up, and there's all sorts of situations with drilling holes through the thing and not running into wires or stuff on the outside of the Airstream. Anyway, this is our starting point.
These. So I've already traced the curve of the wall here. So what we need to do is just make sure this is plumb, because there's going to be a piece of wood that goes all the way from this side to that side, and we want to make sure that this is level.
Main thing is we want to make sure that the mini split isn't leaning down, because otherwise it's not going to drain properly because it's got that condensation tube. The top is level, but the bottom is a little bit off.
Hold on, it's not there.
I think
that's right.
Okay, sweet.
I need that little bit off. I'm still. Have we spent all morning trying to figure out how to put these stupid brackets up? Yes, we have. All morning. But John has got it figured out. We've cut some aluminum angle iron and he's drilling holes in it so we can install it, hopefully very soon.
These L brackets are going to have 2 holes in them. One is a 1/8 hole for a rivet, because we're going to rivet into the skin of the Airstream. Then the other one we'll need to screw into the wood, so we'll have to make this hole bigger so that it bites into the wood and it just catches and it doesn't actually catch in the bracket. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's not how you do it at home, kids.
Safety third. How long did it take?
All day.
All day to do that.
Yep.
But it does look really nice. You can see my blood, sweat, and tears on it.
Show them the side.
No, I'm not going to show them that side because there's some holes in there, but it'll all be patched up and be just fine.
Yeah, so corner edges that are all riveted in, and then there's a brace that runs across the back, and then this is screwed into... We added more 1-bys to screw into, so we didn't screw into the end of the plywood.
Here.
Now...
Well, hold on, let me show them. See the 1-by? The 1-by is screwed into the side piece. Everything's great.
I mean, this is...
It's pretty solid.
It's very solid. I mean, it moves a little bit, but again, we're not moving. I think this will be
I'm pretty happy with it.
It's minimal. It's not going to get in the way, hopefully. I mean, but it's going to come out to here. So we're going to get the unit and we're going to pop it up here and just do some more tests, because the other big thing is we got to figure out this hole and making sure that it drops enough and it doesn't run into stuff outside.
Yeah, I have an idea to redo our curtain situation and make it hidden. So
Okay.
everything's gonna work out great. Can you get the unit?
Yeah.
Sit on.
You know, it's a pain taking apart your whole living space multiple days in a row.
Yeah. Today's gonna be worse than yesterday.
Which part of the trailer do you want to tear apart first?
The back.
So we had a pretty successful mounting of the inside unit yesterday, which took all day. The next big stage is that we have to figure out how to get power to the mini split. We've gone back and forth on whether the power comes directly from the box outside or if it comes from inside the Airstream and the outside unit is mounted to the Airstream. I think we've decided, just because of dogs and all the other things, we need to keep this wiring inside if we can. So that does mean we have to figure out how to run a piece of 12-2 Romex from the power system all the way in the back, all the way to the front. Got a lot of cabinets and stuff to take apart and disassemble, things to take out of the cabinets, and then we'll see if we can pull this 30 plus feet.
How's it going?
Good. I don't think it's going to be as bad as I thought, now that I got all this stuff out of the way.
Remember when I said it wasn't going to be as bad? Do you remember that?
No, I don't. It's weird. I can't remember.
Why do we have so many games?
Well, long ago when we traveled and we didn't have anything else to do, we played more games. Now we're busy and the kids are older and they don't like games as much.
I think they should go to storage so that we have more room.
Yeah.
Also, we need to vacuum this place out.
We also get a bit of a cleaning as part of this
You
project.
should not show this part. Shh, it's disgusting.
I'm staying back. They can't see all the
It's
dust.
so bad.
Thankfully, when we renovated the Airstream, Ashley's dad was really smart about running wires so we could still get to them. So behind all of those drawers and cabinets, all the Romex runs there. It runs behind this cabinet. It runs behind the refrigerator, which we can get access to from the compartment outside. It goes behind the trash can. And then we did add this little chase here, which is multifunctional, but it also hides wires. And then the wires run all the way here. So we've got to open up all this so we can see the wire path and pull a fish line through. What'd you say?
You're talking about...
I said I couldn't get the probe up into the wire nut.
Sounds like a big problem. It's always the problem, isn't it? What's the plan, man?
Well, this Airstream is a 30 amp plug. It has 2 circuit breakers. 1 circuit breaker for the existing air conditioner and 1 circuit breaker for all the other outlets and everything else that powers on. So we're gonna have to basically disconnect the wire that runs up to the air conditioner and replace it with a new wire that we pull from the very back all the way up to the front so that we can energize the mini split that way, because I don't want to put the mini split on the same circuit as all the other plugs, because then we'll have big problems if we ever wanted like run the Instant Pot and run the mini split at the same time. Wouldn't work. So that's going to be the hardest part, is just pulling 30 plus feet of wire through all these tiny little cavities and stuff. I need to go turn the power off. That's it. I'll be back. So there's a couple twists and turns here, and by twists and turns I mean in the wire. We're going to start kind of in the middle here, because once it gets past the wheel well, it makes a hard turn back to the very back side of the trailer and then through, and I don't want to have to try to fish all that. So we're going to do it in sort of sections. So if you can start pushing it through, I'll go to the compartment behind the refrigerator outside and grab it, and then we'll pull it through that way. And so you're just gonna take it all the way under back that way, and hopefully I'll see it pop out over there.
Hopefully I'll see it pop out over there. I pushed a lot of wire. Do you see anything?
I had to take our toe kick off.
You're gonna have to get the wire to like go back that way. It's all twisted up. Go out there. It's almost through.
We were super spoiled yesterday because it was cloudy and windy, and it's hot again today, and we're so hot in here. We've got to get this done. So we've pulled the wire all the way up into here. So we're going to tape it to the end, pull it back through, all the way back down to there, and then keep going.
The wire is pulled. We're sufficiently drenched because it's so hot in here.
And all the power's off, so there's no fans. Yeah, so...
Next step.
So I need to rewire the breaker back there, and then we got to put all this back together. This is the smallest breaker box in the entire world. It's from 1972, and yeah, there's like no room to do anything in here. So it's gonna take a minute.
We'll record the whole time.
Okay.
No rush or anything. We're not dying of heat stroke over here. You're doing great. Keep it up. Is it done yet?
I have the neutral in. That's it.
Good job, babe.
Thanks. If you can't tell what I'm doing here, I'm just disconnecting and capping the Romex running to our old air conditioner and connecting the new Romex we just pulled to the existing 20 amp circuit breaker.
Okay, Jonathan went to go get the disconnect box so that we can start installing stuff, but I went ahead and painted that, and I have extra paint, so I'm doing a side project really fast while he's gone.
Okay, it's been 2 days so far, and we still don't have a mini split. It's a long process, and we have other things to do. So we're at the point where we're going to start drilling holes in the Airstream, which is the part that I'm most stressed out about. We need to bring that Romex that we ran out to the front to a AC disconnect. Airstreams have inside skin, outside skin. Right above this solar plug, we actually cut out the inside skin, so we're going to try to drill it there so we don't have to cut more inside skin off. So this box is going to go right here, right above it. So I'm going to drill a little hole. We're going to see where it pops through. Then drill a bigger hole, pull the wire through, mount it to the Airstream. I hate drilling holes in the Airstream. It stresses me out so much.
It's okay.
And then we have to drill an even bigger hole. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, just like the very tip of it.
Okay, that was pretty painless. Got it through. We're going to put grommets on here because you don't want this metal to mess up your wire long term. Okay, so Ashley and the kids had to run into town to do a few quick errands. What I'm going to do is take the line from the power from the Airstream. I'm going to hook it into the line side of this disconnect, and then the load from the cable supplied by Costway that's going to bring power into this unit will go into the load side. And then there's just a little non-fusible disconnect that will turn it on. That way, if we ever need to do anything with it, we can always turn it on outside. You're supposed to have some sort of disconnect for these. So yeah, I'm going to do that real quick, and then hopefully we'll be back and we can move to the next step. Alright, so one more time. This is the power coming from the Airstream, so that is our line. So the black goes into this side, the white goes into this side, and the ground goes to ground. And then this is our load. It's going to go down to the mini split. We'll hook that up in a second. And then the load, same thing. You're putting the blacks together, the whites together. And then this is your non-fusible disconnect. So when the metal is at the top, it isn't going to go in those slots. So it's off, and then you can flip it over. The metal will go into the slots, and it will join the hot and the neutral together and give the unit power. And then you just have this little thing to cover up everything down here, and you should be good to go. I'm gonna turn it off for now though. The load out is gonna go in here like we said. We just took the black wire, which is the load, into the L, the white to the neutral, and the green to ground. We got the strain relief on here. It's coming through the waterproof connection. And we did put strain relief and waterproof connection here too, so that this doesn't pull out. So we'll tidy this up once we get the full install, once we get this thing mounted. We're still not back yet. I'm gonna go ahead and pop open this inside unit. We do have to connect a communication cable, so that's how this unit gets power, and it's how it communicates with the outside unit. There are 4 connections, 1, 2, 3, and ground. So we're just gonna match those up. So let's just open it up real quick. All right, so the wire looks like it needs to come up here. Let's see if we can figure that out. It's gonna be a little tricky. Same thing with the other. We do have a strain relief, which is smart because we don't want this to slide out, especially while we're trying to pull it through the wall. These are spade terminals, so you want to make sure that you're going underneath. There should be a plate behind the screws, so make sure you're making that full connection. Oh man, guys, this is what I've been stressing out about. Drilling a 2.5 inch hole in the Airstream, and it's not just like going through a normal wall, right? You've got your outside skin, you have insulation, you have your inside wall. Also, we have Airstream letters. There's some wires back in here. There's this rail that we aren't going to be able to drill through, and that all has to work at the right drop so that the holes inside go up so that the water, the condensation, can drain out. I'm scared. I don't want to do it.
You want me to do it?
So we need to go as close to the A as we possibly can, and as low to this thing as we possibly can. Many years ago, when we renovated this Airstream, we did that inside skin. It didn't exist, so we actually had to buy our own aluminum. We had to use these blocks of foam to sort of set them off, and then we put in insulation. So this is looking good. I see a little bit of a block we'll have to kind of cut off. It's just foam, and then I see the inside skin right past it. But I would like to take like a small bit, and I want to go up at the angle that we need to go at and see where it's going to hit in relation to, because we might have to move the whole unit up a little bit on that piece of wood to make sure the drop is right.
There you go.
So do you want me to drill it from the inside or the outside?
I think it makes sense to drill it inside. Should I go get the vacuum first?
Yeah, probably. Okay, this is the tricky part. We have to get all this through the wall, and then we'll continue to wrap it on the outside. But you always want to make sure your drip tube is on the bottom of the bundle, because you want to make sure that your condensation can run out. So I'm going to need your help to feed this stuff through before I set it up on there. Mom's going to be out there reseeding. Almost. Alright, and this.
Before we mount our outside unit, let's talk about why we decided to do it this way and why you may want to do it differently.
Right, so in our case, because this Airstream is permanently parked underneath this cover, it made more sense for us to mount the outside unit directly to our concrete pad. If you're thinking of doing this and want to have a more mobile setup, probably the best place to put that unit would be right here where your propane tanks are. You could mount a plate here, you could bolt it down, it would do pretty well with travel. Our thing is we just didn't want to have to redo our whole propane setup, because then now they don't mount there and you'd have to put them off to the side, and if you were traveling you'd have to store them somewhere else. So it kind of turns into a whole thing, but it is still possible. We all know that you don't really want to put a lot of weight on the bumpers of an Airstream, but we have seen those bike racks that mount to the back, right? So what you could do is they sell brackets for mini splits that mount to the wall. So you could go into the ribs, mount it on the back, especially if your main living space is in the back of your Airstream instead of the front.
One thing you need to keep in mind is all these units use copper flare fittings, so they are very fragile.
Yeah, so fun story. The first mini split we installed over on the solar shed, we pulled all the stuff through the wall, we connected those gas lines, and then we're like, oh, let's move the outside unit where it needs to go. And as soon as we moved it, it broke that seal. Refrigerant started rushing out. We had to turn it all off.
It was a whole thing.
Recut the lines, reflare the lines, do that. Thankfully it was okay, but refrigerant is so expensive. So you don't want that to happen. You don't want to leak. If you're going to be mounting that outside unit to your trailer somehow and towing the trailer, and it's going to be in motion, we recommend flexible lines, especially right at that outside condenser unit, till you get inside. That way hopefully those hard lines won't break the seal when you start bouncing down the road.
And there will be bouncing.
Yeah. So we got our drain tube, our communication cable, our 2 gas lines. I think we figured out where we're going to mount this on the concrete. So we're going to hammer drill it. Got some concrete anchors. We'll get that secured down before we make our final gas connections.
Storm coming in.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what we would need to do if we get rained on. We need to seal that up. We need to hook up electric and close that back and at least make our connections here. Communication cable, we match up 1, 2, and 3, and then ground. Then we're gonna get it covered back up because that's coming. During this step, we also made sure to properly seat the flare fittings, torque them down, and then leak test.
As the storm was coming in, we formed our gas lines to connect to the ports on the outside of the unit and tucked them out of the way. Then we taped and zip tied it all up to protect it from the wind.
Okay, well, the storm just kind of went over us. We got a few sprinkles. We got a little bit more time today, so I'm going to try to draw the vacuum on this, let the gas into the unit. That means we can use it. We might be able to use it tonight, so let's do it. We should mention that you're technically supposed to have a licensed HVAC professional do this next step, but we live in the Wild West and we do what we want.
Yeah, we do.
If you would like to do this yourself, we will leave some links to products in the description. The first step is we want to go from the blue side of the manifold into the large diameter or the gas line. And then we're going to take our yellow hose. We're going to go from the middle of the manifold into the vacuum pump. So we're going to open the blue gauge all the way. And then we're going to turn the vacuum pump on. We're going to wait 15 minutes and hopefully this will draw down to a negative pressure and then we'll move to the next step. So the good news is the negative pressure held. So what we got to do next is we're going to go now to the liquid side, which is the small copper pipe. We're going to open the service port here and we're going to turn this a quarter turn for 5 seconds. And what that's going to do is it's going to let just a little bit into the inside unit. You'll hear a little bit of a rush, and on our manifold gauge it's going to, well, you can't really see it, but it's going to pop up to a positive pressure. So this is the second leak step test because we're going to let it go up to that positive pressure, not use all of the refrigerant, just some of it. Let it hold for another 5 minutes and then make sure that we don't have a leak. Ready? Ready. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So if you look on here, we've gone up to 100. So we're going to set another 5-minute timer and we're going to check it in 5 minutes. No leaks as far as we can tell. The pressure is held exactly the same. So the next step is to release all of the liquid, and then we'll take the service port off here and we'll release all of the gas. and then we can go turn the unit on inside and test it out. Now here's the last thing. We have to disconnect the whole manifold off of this service port here. There's refrigerant, and this is a Schrader valve, and so it's gonna want to kind of spray refrigerant when you do this. Your instinct is going to be to stop when you hear refrigerant. Don't, just keep going, wear gloves, do it as fast as you can. All right, ready? Here we go. Woo, okay. That's why you wear gloves. All right, here we go. Oh.
Open. Yeah.
It's in Celsius. How do we change it? Here we go. 77. Okay. We're going to set it to cool. This may be mode. Here we go. Cool. Set. Cold. Let's see what happens. I feel it.
And just like that, our mini split is installed in our vintage Airstream.
So let's talk about how this thing has actually performed day to day since we put it in. That old dumb rooftop unit wasn't able to keep it comfortable in the Airstream without the additional evaporative cooler fan. Used over 1500 watts every hour it was on, could only run it during the day with our solar system, and was so noisy we couldn't hear ourselves think.
The beautiful, perfect mini split, on the other hand, has been running 24/7 directly off of our existing solar setup and has kept it so cold inside that the kids usually have their jackets on. It uses an average of 500 watts per hour and is nearly silent.
I don't think I can overstate how it feels like we got a whole new trailer.
It really does. I feel like I'm living in luxury right now.
I know. I mean, I don't think we realized how much stress, not only the noise, but just the whole power situation was adding to our lives. Like, we were worried about it being too hot at night when we had to turn it off each day. And just even walking up to the outside of the trailer.
Yeah, we think something's wrong half the time because we can't hear the outside unit.
Yeah, we moved out here for peace and quiet and solitude. And the constant hum of that outside air conditioner unit was really ruining it.
You could really hear it from far, far, far away.
Yeah. Even better, if we have a big storm coming in and we're worried about lightning, we can cut the 30 amp power to the trailer and just run the mini split for hours off of our 400 amp hour lithium battery bank that's built into the RV.
Win, win, win.
Just for reference, on our 12 volt system, that rooftop air conditioner would use 150 amps, which would have drained the batteries in no time. The mini split averages about 50 to 55 amps. That's a huge difference and actually makes it to where you can almost run an air conditioner off solar while camping off grid. I mean, we're real close.
It's probably a good thing that we didn't have this while we were traveling, otherwise we would never have ended up here.
You need a good sized battery bank. I would probably go like 500 or 600 amp hours. You probably need a few more solar panels, maybe like a ground deploy system to get you up to around 600, 700, 800 watts. But it's, I mean, like, we're right there. It's almost doable. Plus, overnight, as it gets cooler, that power drops even more. The watts are crazy low overnight. So I think you can make it happen.
He thinks you can make it happen, guys.
Plot twist, these also do heat. Did we mention that?
Nope, we didn't.
Yeah, efficient electric heat in an RV. We need to do some tests this winter to see how it actually performs, but based on our experience in the solar shed, it works really well.
Which means we're using less propane this winter.
Now that the mini split's installed, we're gonna do some tests. So, it comes with a handy remote. There's a bunch of features on here. The main thing is obviously you got your cooling function, you've got your heating function, you do have just a fan, and you also have a dry function which will remove the moisture from your space. As you saw earlier, you can switch between Celsius and Fahrenheit very easily. You can turn off the display in case you're sleeping, you don't want it to bother you. You can set it to swing. It actually swings both up and down and left and right, so it can really distribute that air evenly throughout the space. There's a few other modes like turbo and health and sleep, which I won't get into, but lots of really cool functions. And the one thing I like the most is that the temperature you set it to, there's a temperature sensor on this unit, so it'll set the temperature and use the amount of power it needs to cool it down to the temperature there. But if you have a certain area like in the back of the trailer, you can set it to I feel, put your remote back there, which also has a temperature sensor, and it'll adjust the temperature to what this feels and not what that feels. So pretty cool. Now, I know you're probably wondering what's the catch, right? There's always some sort of trade-off with a new system like this.
And as you saw, retrofitting them into an RV is difficult. There are lots of things to consider, holes to be drilled, potential disasters awaiting us, and they need a lot of planning for sure.
They also aren't the prettiest. I mean, if you look at our aluminum propane tanks versus a mini split mounted on the outside tongue, I mean, propane tanks win every time, right?
Yeah, but the inside unit didn't look too bad. Guys, you're gonna have an air conditioner in there either way. Might as well make it something efficient.
Leaks on the gas lines are definitely one of the biggest problems with these units. Make sure to use leak sealant on the flare, seat it properly, tighten to torque specs, and check for leaks, especially when mounted on a trailer that moves often.
Now that being said, we do know several people who have installed these mini splits on a trailer that moves without any issues.
Yeah, most of the problems that come with a mini split are not the hardware itself, it's with the install.
And finally, like any AC, these do need maintenance.
The condensation tray tube can get clogged and back up into the inside, so it's important to clean your coils regularly, clean the dust filters, and vacuum the drain often. We've definitely sucked a few bugs out of our condensation tube.
Yes, we have. Guys, we were so stressed about this project, but we are so happy with how it turned out. This is a huge upgrade for our Airstream.
Thanks again, Costway, for sponsoring this video, for sending us this mini split. Make sure you check the description for some links and a 10% off coupon code to use anywhere on the site you want.
And thanks to you for watching. We hope you'll stick around to see what's next on our tiny, shiny homestead.
Now, if you'll excuse us, we're gonna go bake some cookies in the Airstream in the summer because we can.